So let's say that your child has been hospitalized for a psychiatric reason, and your child neither has an IEP, which is an individualized education program, or a 504 plan.
Yeah.
They've never been in special education ever. You
Right.
don't know the first thing about special education. But the fact, Jen, that they've been hospitalized and that there may be a new set of issues for this child should trigger the whole process of considering special education.
Yeah, and this is, I get calls from parents very often whose children are in the hospital who are not part of the special education
Right.
system at all, never have
Know
been.
nothing about it.
Know nothing about it, and actually were told to call me by somebody in the hospital or some family friend or a therapist, and and when I start asking them questions, does your child have an IEP?
Right.
Have they ever been referred for special education? They're completely baffled.
Or they might say, my child gets great grades.
Right.
He doesn't need special education
Or
services.
my child's really smart, which really,
Yeah.
is a pet peeve of mine, because being intelligent has nothing to do with whether or not you require special education services in almost all categories.
Right.
And it's an archaic view of looking at special education.
Right.
But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
The point is that if your child has an emotional disability that is adversely impacting their education, and that they require special education and related services to address that, then it is a special education issue. And it may not be a special education services issue. It may be a 504 accommodations issue where the child doesn't require special ed services, but just accommodations in school. And that question is really supposed to be determined by a team of professionals that includes the parents, as well as certain members of the school district staff that are required by law to be there, depending on which kind of a meeting it is. But basically what this group of people is supposed to be determining is, does this child require a different program than the average child who's going to that school
Right.
because of an emotional disability? And just because a child's been hospitalized one time for a psychiatric reason does not in and of itself mean that that child is eligible for services, but it is certainly a red flag, and in most school districts, it is actually one of the facts that occur that a good special education director would inform their team should be a red flag for a referral to the special education process. So
Right.
just as it's good practice for the educators to be aware that the fact that a child's been hospitalized for psychiatric reasons should trigger a deeper look.
Right.
Likewise, for parents, it should be triggering a look on
Right.
your part to get the team together if the school
Right.
district has not done so already.
And if your child already has an IEP or a 504 plan, you're already sort of thinking along those
Yes.
lines. You're on that track.
Right.
So it's not this huge divergent thought to
Right.
continue on that track.
Right.
But if you've never had an IEP or a 504 plan and your child's been hospitalized, this may be a totally new realm and way of thinking. And so that's really what we want you to think about, that this should trigger a process that you may have never considered before.
Yeah.